Welcome. My name is John Barbs. I'm the Outreach Manager for Move Minneapolis, the Downtown Transportation Management Organization. And I'll be the moderator for the webinar, Commuting in a Hybrid World, Travel Tips for Flexible Schedules. And just a little housekeeping here. Please note that this webinar is being recorded. Use the Q&A function to submit questions to the panelists. And the panel will respond to the questions at the end of the presentation during the Q&A time. And during the presentation, we'll also post links in the chat function for reference information. So we're all aware of the culture change that's changed the world pretty dramatically in the work environment since 2019. The old 9-to-5, Monday through Friday office norm is now segmented into remote working, hybrid schedules, and back to the office 5 days a week. Today's webinar provides a current picture of the hybrid worker landscape. This includes stats on hybrid workers in Minneapolis and their commutes. There are some commuting pain points, as well as new tools and tips that help mitigate them. We'll look at how carpooling and FlexPass programs can benefit hybrid schedules. We'll demonstrate how EasyPass network enhances these commutes while improving highway congestion. And finally, we'll see what transit and transportation programs provide hybrid commuters with affordable and sustainable options. And then the Q&A period will follow the panelists. We're very happy to have this panel of commuting experts to share their knowledge. While they'll focus on hybrid workers, much of their information can also apply to regular full-time office staff. Michelle Wong is the Minneapolis Parking and ABC Ramps Mobility Hub Marketing Manager. Sue Gergen is MnDOT's EasyPass Communications and Public Engagement Manager. Catherine Windick is Move Minneapolis's Outreach Specialist, Individual Solutions. So what do these panelists all have in common? Well, they work to improve commuting options, reduce congestion, and better the health and vitality of downtown Minneapolis. The scope of their work intersects downtown. And for the purpose of this webinar, they'll focus on the ABC Ramps Mobility Hub, which is in the Warehouse District. The ABC Ramps Mobility Hub is owned by the Minnesota Department of Transportation, or MnDOT, and the Mobility Hub consists of 3 parking ramps on the north edge of the downtown core. The Mobility Hubs offer discounted carpool parking, and provide transit hubs for bus service, bus rapid transit, light rail, commuter rail, EV charging, and bike facilities. So who is Move Minneapolis? Move Minneapolis is the transportation management organization for downtown Minneapolis. Our mission is to improve air quality and reduce congestion, which we accomplish by promoting alternatives to drive-alone commutes. We connect downtown commuters and employers with transportation resources on biking, walking, transit, carpool, van pools, car shares, and telework. We also focus on a reduction of vehicle miles traveled, or VMT. Our services and resources are available at no cost to downtown employers, commuters, and residents. Here's our 4-person staff. Move Minneapolis is a program of the Minneapolis Regional Chamber located in the skyway level of the Young Quinlan Building at 81 South 9th Street. And you can check out our website at moveminneapolis.org. I'll put that into the chat in just a little bit. Here are many transportation service providers that we partner with. We serve as kind of the liaison between the providers and employers and commuters. We offer a menu of transportation options for all of our clients. Let's get a current snapshot of downtown Minneapolis. So we have over 200,000 people that work in downtown, 56,000 live there, and both of those numbers are growing. And as you can see, we've got transit ridership that has been increasing since the depths of the pandemic. A hybrid work model is pretty basic. It means employee works some days in the office and some days at home. It could be one day in the office. It could be up to 4 days. So that really is up to each individual employer and the way they have it set up for their employees. According to a national study published in October by WFH Research, nearly 30% of remote capable jobs in the United States have hybrid schedules. So this doesn't include the jobs that require a physical presence, and examples would be a firefighter or a chef or a bus driver. Forbes magazine found a similar national percentage with over 28% of the jobs having hybrid schedules. So that's more than 3/4 of Fortune 100 companies offer hybrid schedules to at least some of their workforce. And for instance, in Minneapolis, we have Wells Fargo and Target Corporation that fit into that category. McKinney Global Institute's survey of Minneapolis employers, which was conducted this past July, showed that we have a higher than national average number of the downtown workforce. Over 1/3 are on a hybrid schedule, so we're ahead of the curve there. And Gallup, the national pollster, found that hybrid workers work an average of 2.6 days in the office, and about half of those hybrid schedules are fixed days of the week. So those are set schedules. All of downtown's top 10 employers offer hybrid schedules to at least some of their staff, depending upon what the job requirements are. Recently, Wells Fargo, Xcel Energy, and U.S. Bank mandated 3 days in the office per week. Others, such as Target and Hennepin County, remain very flexible with the number of days that they require workers in the office. So, according to Gallup, here's how the average work week looks by day. So as you can see, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, lots of workers in the office. Friday, people want to work from home. And how do hybrid schedules impact commuting? For drive-alone hybrid commuters, there are some pain points that are different from fully on-site workers or Monday through Friday workers. For instance, monthly contract parking becomes very expensive if used only 2 or 3 times per week. Either the employee or the employer, depending upon how they have it set up, is paying a lot for unused time. Daily parking rates started to go back into the market rate this past June as more of the workforce returned back to office. So prices came back up. The rock bottom daily parking rates that were happening during the worst of the pandemic are gone. And traffic congestion, although it's now spread over longer day parts, it's returning back to close to the pre-pandemic 2019 levels. Transit riders still have a bargain with MetroPass cards, but how many rides per week does it take to break even for that monthly cost of the pass to break even? According to the American Community Survey, calculating the average one-way commute was 27.5 minutes in 2019. That's for a one-way commute. That time dropped during the pandemic years, but now it's creeping back up to 26.5 minutes each way. So roughly 2 minutes a day. That same lens, let's see here. I think I lost my screen. Is it still showing? There we go. Okay. That same lens looked at traffic speeds in the city. Here's Minneapolis in the past summer. Traffic flow averaged just 2 miles per hour faster than in 2019. But if you commuted at 7 a.m. in the morning, you see that big spike there. The traffic averaged 4 miles per hour faster. Not a whole lot of difference when you think about it. And these are statistics from this past summer. And I'm pointing out all these items because cost, traffic congestion, and commuting times are going to be discussed by our panelists. And with that, I would like to welcome Michelle Wong, the marketing manager for Minneapolis Parking, which includes ABC Ramps Mobility Hub. And Michelle serves on the senior management team of ABM Parking Services in Minneapolis. She's responsible for enhancing the guest experience and business development of 15 parking structures, 2.5 miles of skyways and tunnels, and 8 surface lots throughout the city of Minneapolis. Here's Michelle Wong.
Thanks, John. Like John said, I'm Michelle Wong, marketing manager for the ABC Ramps Mobility Hub. Today, I'm going to talk about the ABC Ramps carpool and flex pass programs and the amenities offered at the ABCs. Carpooling is a great option if you know someone willing to share the ride. We can all agree you can't beat $20 a month for parking, and you can only get that low rate at the ABC Ramps carpool program. The ABCs are located on the north side of downtown near Target Field and Target Center. You can enter all three locations from 394 or enter from side streets, and all are skyway connected. Besides the low rate of $20, there are many other reasons to carpool. Carpooling allows you to share the cost of gas with carpoolers. When you're splitting driving duties with your carpool partner, you're saving wear and tear on your vehicle. And imagine potentially cutting half the miles from your commute by carpooling. Carpooling removes cars from congestion, which is a simple way to reduce gridlock and lessen air pollution. Carpooling comes with perks such as preferred parking spots near the elevator lobby, the guaranteed ride home program, a free Metro Transit ramp and ride card to ride the downtown bus or light rail on the last leg of your commute, and being able to drive in the easy pass lanes for free. And Catherine and Sue will discuss a few of these programs in more detail during their presentation. Many people can carpool. If you live outside of the downtown core and your destination is the downtown core, which is indicated on the map in orange, you're eligible to carpool. This includes downtown workers, students, and if you're a parent dropping off a child at a downtown daycare, you're considered a carpool. Need a more flexible parking program for your hybrid needs? With the FlexPass program, you receive 14 days of parking with in and out privileges and a free ramp and ride card for only $90 a month. This is a great parking program that saves commuters money. Let's look at the ABC Ramps Mobility Hub and some of the amenities they offer. The ABC Ramps Mobility Hub is downtown Minneapolis, is owned by MnDOT. The Mobility Hub consists of 3 parking ramps, which are the largest in the downtown core. The ramps offer discounted carpool parking and provide mass transit hubs that include local and regional bus service, light rail transit, commuter rail, and carpools and van pools. The ABCs offer a variety of cost-effective bicycling amenities, such as secure lockers and shower facilities. Metro Transit's bike and ride facility can be found in Ramp B and is a secure enclosed structure with controlled access. ABCs also offers a bicycle facility interactive web map. Information for all of these programs can be found on abc-ramps.com. The ABC Ramps Mobility Hub and Metro Transit partner to offer the flexible connections you want and need when you visit downtown. Ramps A and B are transit hubs that provide service for many local and regional bus routes. Have an electric vehicle? The ABC Ramps Mobility Hub has 20 EV charging units in Ramp A, 8 in Ramp B, and 8 in Ramp C. Users can register with ChargePoint, and a link with additional information can be found on our website at abc-ramps.com. Thank you for your time and your interest in the ABC Ramps Mobility Hub. If you would like additional information or to sign up for a carpool or FlexPass program, please visit us at abc-ramps.com.
Well, thank you very much, Michelle. Just a reminder that if you do have any questions, please submit those in the Q&A function, and then we'll be able to get those into the panel discussion at the very end for the Q&A session. Our next panelist is Sue Gergen with Minnesota Department of Transportation, or MnDOT. Sue manages Easy Pass Minnesota Communications, Education, and Public Engagement. She was instrumental in the 2021 communications campaign where MnPass joined and rebranded to Easy Pass, and new lanes opened up on I-35W in the North Metro. Sue sits on several planning and environmental review committees assessing the potential addition for future Easy Pass lanes. Welcome, Sue Gergen.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone who's attending today. I'm going to talk a little bit about Easy Pass Minnesota. So what is Easy Pass? Here in Minnesota, our Easy Pass lanes are what we consider managed lanes. We call them managed lanes because we manage how we use them. They're a little different than what you would consider your typical toll roads that are in other states. And in the metro, we have I-394 in the west, on the west side of Minneapolis, I-35W south of Minneapolis. Both of those two are good performers for helping the downtown Minneapolis clientele. We also have lanes on I-35E north of St. Paul. We opened new lanes in 2021 in the North Metro on I-35W. That's between Highway 36 and Lino Lakes. And in fall of 2026, we will open a section of Easy Pass lanes on I-494 between Highway 100 and 35W. Now, the plan on 494 is to extend those 494 lanes eastward towards Highway 77, but the first phase will open in fall of 2026 between Highway 100 and 35W. The whole goal of Easy Pass in Minnesota is to move more people during busy weekday hours. That being said, we do belong to a national network, and the Easy Pass network is the largest interoperable tolling facility network out there. There's 20 different states that belong to Easy Pass, many different facilities, and it includes the Midwest. It includes the Eastern United States, pretty much all along the coast. Georgia was the most recent state to just join Easy Pass, so the Peach Pass is now part of Easy Pass. Being part of this national network means that it's seamless travel across states. You use one tag across, in any of these Easy Pass facilities. How does Easy Pass work here in Minnesota? So how Easy Pass works in Minnesota versus how it works in other states and on other facilities is different. Like I said, in other Easy Pass states are more of what you'd consider true toll roads. I would not call our Easy Pass lanes toll roads here in Minnesota because really the goal is not to toll people. It's to provide that carpool and transit advantage so that we can move more people during those busy hours. So we have carpool and transit advantage during the busy hours, which are typically 6 to 10 a.m. and or 3 to 7 p.m., depending on what direction you're going. In Minnesota, Easy Pass lanes are always free for carpoolers, transit riders, and motorcycles. You don't have to have an account or tag in order to use the lane as a carpooler or obviously transit riders, you're on a bus. Other states, that's not the case. You might get a discount if you're an HOV2 plus or HOV3, but you're still going to have a tag and pay something. But here in Minnesota, it's always free, no tag or no count or tag needed. Only the single occupant vehicles pay a fee in Minnesota, and it's only during those certain hours. We also use our Easy Pass lanes as just a general lane outside of our hours so that everyone can use them, and it just gives more capacity on the highway for everyone to use. The exception is that section of I-394, which we call the reversible lane that's between Highway 100 and downtown Minneapolis. that is always in HOV, or you have to pay a fee for that section. Real quickly, there's a lot on this slide, but just how you use the lanes. Here in Minnesota, we don't have a barrier separating our general lanes from our Easy Pass lanes because they become a general lane at certain hours. So it's separated by either a solid double white and a dashed double white line. The most important thing for you to remember if you're going to use the Easy Pass lane is enter and exit where there are dashed double white lines. Don't ever cross those solid double white lines. That is a moving violation. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. So the dashed double white lines, and there's plenty of them on all of our corridors that have Easy Pass lanes, that's where you enter and exit. If you happen to be a single occupant vehicle and you have a tag and account, your overhead signs are going to show what the price is for that trip, for that segment, and your tag will be read automatically. There's no toll booths in Minnesota. Again, you don't have to have a tag or pay a fee if you're a carpooler on transit. Sort of already said these things, but the biggest benefits of Easy Pass Minnesota, the first two that are on this slide are actually benefits for all. I said we call them managed lanes. We call them that because it gives us flexible options for how we use the lane. Again, here in Minnesota, it's not about tolls and collecting revenue. It's about moving more people during our busy hours. The Easy Pass lanes always provide a more reliable and predictable trip. That is true even in kind of our wonky traffic congestion coming back to normal. I would say actually since the post-pandemic, our general lanes are even more unpredictable. And those of you who are out there driving them, you're feeling it. Certain days, it used to be prior to the pandemic, you kind of knew when you're going to have gridlock and you just accept it. These days, it's really hard for us to predict. So it's giving that more reliable, predictable trip in an Easy Pass lane all the time, which is a really good option for commuters, no matter how you're commuting. As I said before, it is always free in Minnesota to use the Easy Pass lane for carpoolers and transit riders, no account or tag required. We are HOV 2+ in Minnesota, and that means 2 or more people in the vehicle, and that includes infants. So if you have daycare facilities in downtown Minneapolis, you can use that lane for free, no tag or account required, and that infant in that car seat counts as your second person. We heard about the ABC ramps. We have a direct connect. That reversible lane on I-394 drops you right into the ABC ramps and all the amenities that are there for you. So that's a wonderful benefit for downtown Minneapolis workers and commuters. We have a switchable tag. If you do decide to take out an account and you get a tag, our tag in Minnesota, you can switch between single occupant, in which you'd pay a fee, or HOV, in which you have someone in the car with you. Other states do not have this switchable tag. If you have an iPass tag, it's always in fee paying mode, and you're always going to be charged something because, like I said, again, other Easy Pass facilities often charge you. If you're a carpool, you might get a discounted charge, but it's going to be some sort of charge. Ours is switchable, so you can switch back and forth. And again, I said it's a general lane for all to use outside of our hours. I want to take a few minutes just to go over some surveys. We did 2 different market research surveys this year in the spring of 2023. And we asked some questions about Easy Pass. And so just to add to John's stats from the beginning of the webinar, we do this perception tracking survey every 5 or 6 years. We survey the overall general traveling public in the Twin Cities, and we do it to gauge their awareness, use, and perceived effectiveness of all of our traffic management tools, one of which is Easy Pass. And our traffic management tools are, the overhead message signs and the ramp meters, Easy Pass lanes. Those are all of what we call traffic management tools. Some of the key findings regarding Easy Pass from this general public audience: the percentage who have ridden Easy Pass in an Easy Pass lane has increased for all age groups. That's good. More people are using it, even if they're only using it occasionally. Car or van pool is the predominant mode using the Easy Pass lane, 79%. This is not surprising to us. This has sort of been one of our percentages that we've had for many years, that seems to be the way that most people are using it. Transit used to be up there higher too, but some of our transit levels and our routes have not fully come back yet. So car and van pool is really high. And what I love to see is, again, this is the general public that was surveyed with this. Our what I call our approval rating for Easy Pass is more than half. So even if people aren't using it, they're seeing the value in it and they're rating it as a favorable tool for us to use to help people to and from work, to and from personal appointments, just moving around the Twin Cities. The other survey that we did was our Easy Pass Minnesota account holder survey. This was a closed group. It's just our account holders who actually have an account and they pay a fee when they're by themselves in the lane. Satisfaction remains high. This is great after a pandemic in which a lot of us felt like we didn't even need the Easy Pass lanes, but people were still using them because again, there's that unpredictability in the general lanes. People are saying it still gives value. It gives value for the money, 91%. That's really, really good. Top three benefits, and I would say that these top three benefits are good for everyone using it, even if you're not an account holder. It saves time. There's usually less traffic because it's flowing more, and less stress. Those are important things in our interesting hybrid post-pandemic world. Some of the things that we learned is that people are using Easy Pass differently post-pandemic, whereas the Easy Pass lanes used to be primarily driving to and from work and only occasionally used to and from personal appointments. We've seen that kind of, those percentages switch a little bit. You can see we have almost a 70-30 of some people using it to work, some people using it for personal appointments. This is not really surprising because I think many of us know we may go into work and then maybe we leave at 3 o'clock, we run an errand, do a personal appointment, and we go home and we finish off the rest of our day at home. The final bullet, not surprising, more telework. And John shared some national stats on that. Here's what we're hearing from our account holders. We added a question in our account holder survey that wasn't in there before, just addressing the COVID-19 pandemic and how has it changed how you're using the lanes. 48% use Easy Pass less since the pandemic, teleworking at least 1 to 2 days a week or more. That jives really with what John was saying earlier. The more surprising thing was 17% always work from home now and only occasionally use Easy Pass. Now I'm going to keep this telework question in our future account holder surveys to see if those percentages change, because many of us have been called back into in person a little bit more. So it will be interesting to see if that changes. The thing that's interesting with this is, despite the fact that more people are teleworking of our account holders, our account enrollments remain high. And we saw very few people closing our accounts during the pandemic or even now that we're in a hybrid world. I think that speaks to the options that our Easy Pass lanes give us here in Minnesota. The other thing I will say is that for our accounts, you have to put in a minimum of $25 to open up an account. Your credits on your account never expire. So in other words, that $25 could sit out there for years and years and years and years and years, but it's always there for you to use. So I think that's something that people will say, oh, okay, maybe I don't use it because I carpool all the time, but it's there when I need it. Or even if people just wanted to use that national network. I think that's enough from me on Easy Pass. I thank you. And I know we will do some Q&A at the end.
All right. Thank you very much, Stu. That was really informative. And again, please add your questions to the Q&A function. And then if you have specific questions for either Easy Pass or for the ABC ramps, you can direct them to the proper person on that. Otherwise, we'll open it up to everybody on the panel. So I'm very privileged to work closely with my work colleague, Catherine Windick, Outreach Specialist, Individual Solutions at Move Minneapolis. And Catherine's interest in sustainable transportation began with a long reliance on transit, and later her discovery of biking as a commute option. From there, she realized the joy of helping others discover sustainable commuting. Currently, she's working on an individual insights pilot program aimed at putting stories and faces and data points to remind service providers and partners that that this work is all about people. So please welcome Catherine Windick.
Thanks, John. Are you seeing my screen?
Yep, your screen is visible.
Thank you so much. Well, thanks again, John, and thank you all to all who are joining us today for this webinar. Again, my name is Catherine Windick. I use she, her pronouns, and I will be talking about the transportation menu that's available to you as a hybrid commuter. So on the screen, we have an image of a chef holding a chalkboard menu. It says daily specials, transit, carpool, bike, and all of those options come with an asterisk that says all options come with a side of guaranteed ride home. So Michelle referenced guaranteed ride home earlier, and I'll go into that in more detail. And I want you to think about the hybrid schedule as an opportunity to maybe sample different platters and combos as you go about your day and think about your transportation needs and think about trying new things that you might not have before the pandemic when you were locked into a 5-day-a-week commute and nothing ever changed and you might have been in a bit of a transportation rut. This is a really good time to explore different options that may work for you, and I'm going to talk about those options here. First of all, I wanted to talk about the flexible options you have to pay your transit fare for those who are not enrolled in any kind of pass program. So these are great options if you just want to try out transit, you want to go to the office one day because you don't have a lot of meetings and you have flexibility to try that out. That would be something that's great to just get a feel for it. Or if you want to try out going to a sporting event or a concert or something downtown and see how that actually feels, and then maybe later apply that to your commute. So the 3 options I've listed here for non-monthly pass holders. The first one is cash. I have an image on the screen of some hands holding some coins. So this is the simplest, most straightforward, low-tech option. You don't need any technology required. You don't need any more forethought than going to the bank and getting some cash, which for some people might be too much forethought. I recognize that. But for some people, that might be great. They don't want to deal with thinking too far in advance and having to set anything up. So remember that you can always pay in cash, but do remember that exact change is required. So if you pay for a $2 fare with a $10 bill, you won't get that change back. So you do want to keep that in mind. Next, I have the Go-To card. And I have an image on the screen of what the Go-To card looks like. And again, this is just for non-pass holders. This is just a Go-To card. You can put daily trips on here. So fares you can add to the card. The benefits of the card include no fumbling for change. So if you are one of those people who doesn't ever have change on hand, this could be great for you. You can check your balance online to see how much is left and if you need to add more. And if you do, there are many ways to add value to the card, including by mail, by phone, online, in person, and yeah, I think those are all the options. Next, we have for the more tech savvy or people who always have their phone and don't want to have to worry about carrying a separate card, the Metro Transit app. You can pay for fares in the Metro Transit app. Tickets are available immediately and they never expire. I have an image on the screen of a smartphone with a ticket. So with this option, you would purchase the ticket and then show your phone to the bus driver or transit and fare checker. If you encounter someone on a train who's asking to see your fare, you just show them your phone. The Go-To card does have a bit of a delay when you add funds. So the Metro Transit app is immediately, you can purchase it right as your bus is pulling up, although I would encourage maybe a couple minutes before that just to make sure you're not delaying anything. Next, this slide is going over Metro Pass. Metro Pass makes commuting a breeze. So this is a monthly pass program. This is employer-based. So it's only available to you if your employer chooses to participate. And I have on the screen an image of the Metro Pass in front of a card reader, which you tap to process payment or to record your rides. So the cost, if there's no support financially from your employer, is $83 per month. If your employer chooses to cover some or all of the cost of the card, that number would be lower. So it could be half of the amount or 100% of the amount that your employer covers, and you would not be responsible for paying any of the transit transit fare for using the Metro Pass. Additionally, some employers who do not cover 100% of the cost can offer pre-tax savings by allowing you to pay for this with your pre-tax dollars. So that's an additional way you can save money. And John talked earlier at the beginning about passes and whether it becomes, if it makes sense for paying for transit. And this card does pay for itself at the $83 a month level with 2 rides a day, 3 days a week. So that is 2 rides, separate, morning and afternoon, not counting free transfers that you might get. Every fare is good for 2.5 hours. So if you're riding 2 separate times a day, 3 days a week, it does pay for itself versus paying per trip like the options I just went over in the previous slide. This is great as a cashless option, again, if you don't carry cash, and it auto renews. So you'll remain enrolled in the MetroPass program until or unless you let your employer know you want to be taken out of it, or your employer stops providing it, or you change employers. So it's great. You don't ever have to think about it besides just having your MetroPass on hand. Access includes not just Metro Transit, but also MBTA, Southwest Transit, Plymouth Metrolink, and Maple Grove Transit. So any scheduled bus or train in the region, you have access to. This does not apply for Metro Mobility. You also have 24/7 access to all of these amenities, all of the service providers. So it's great to use beyond the commute. If you find yourself driving to places that you notice you could get to by transit, start experimenting with that as well. That's a great thing about the hybrid world too that we find ourselves in, is maybe having a little more flexibility to try out errands or social commitments or appointments and things like that, getting groceries. Try transit. If you have the MetroPass in your pocket, you don't even have to think about it. You can just swipe it and you're good. And I have on the screen as well to ask your employer. So if you're interested in the MetroPass, ask your employer if they provide it. If not, or if they're enrolled in the program, if they're not and you're interested, let them know that you're interested and that you would like to take advantage of this program. There is no minimum rider enrollment. So if it's just even you at your company that wants to participate, there's a small administrative time requirement. So they need to add you to an Excel document and share that with Metro Transit. But beyond that, there's no cost to them unless they choose to cover some of the amount of the $83. And this can be especially helpful if your employer does provide free or subsidized parking for people who drive. This is a great way to bring up transportation equity in your place of employment. So if your employer is concerned with DEI and equity issues, this is a great place to make a difference there. Next, I'm going to talk about the ramp and ride that Michelle mentioned regarding the ABC ramps. So a free ramp and ride card for the last mile is available for carpoolers and FlexPass users in the ABC ramps. So on the screen, I have an image of the light rail near the ABC ramps, along with a couple buses and some people walking on the street and sidewalk. This is great for that last leg of your trip. If you are carpooling or using FlexPass and parking in ABC ramps and your employer is on the other side of downtown, or the weather isn't cooperating that day, or you just don't feel like walking, you can hop on a bus or train for the last leg of your trip for free. So you do need to get the card. It is a go-to card that is specifically designed for ABC ramps, carpoolers, and FlexPass users, and Move Minneapolis can help you with getting that card. You can only use this card for free in the downtown zone. I have a map on the screen of the downtown zone. So it's not for just getting on and going to the Mall of America for free, but it is great for getting around across downtown. ABC Ramps Mobility Hub transit connections. Michelle also mentioned that there are transit connections to the ABC Ramps Mobility Hub. So on the screen here, I have a picture of a light rail train as well as a BRT bus, and BRT stands for Bus Rapid Transit. Both the blue line and the green line have a station, the Warehouse District Station, 1 block away from the ABC ramps, Ramp B, and Metro C line and Metro D line, which are BRT buses, both have stops in the ABC ramps. So if you are looking into different transportation options and how transit might work for you, check out the Metro Transit Trip Planner at metrotransit.org, or try using Google Maps and their transit feature to plan out your route and see if it makes sense to connect to you in the ABC Ramps Mobility Hub. Biking in transit. Now that the weather has turned a little wintry, this is maybe even more appealing to some folks. Biking and transit are a match made in heaven. On the screen here, we have a Metro Transit bus with a snowy bike on the front rack. This is a great example of a free rack that's available on all Metro Transit buses and trains, as well as the suburban providers that I mentioned earlier. You can put your bike on the bus or train for free. That doesn't mean you get to ride for free, just your bike gets to ride for free. So you still need to pay the fare, but there's no extra cost to bring your bike along. This is great for many, many reasons, but since we're doing this in December, I was thinking about it a little more seasonally. It's great for midday snowstorms. If you biked into work and there's an unexpected snowstorm, you didn't want to believe the forecast, or there hasn't been enough time for the snow to be cleared and you don't really want to ride home in that, you don't have the right gear, pop your bike on transit and let them take it home for you while you get to be toasty warm on the bus or train. It's also great for underdressing, which I can attest to as well. If you ride into work and realize you didn't dress warm enough and you don't want to make that ride home because you're going to have frostbite by the time you get home, or even on your way, if you can stop and put your bike on a bus or train because you're just not dressed properly, that can really give you another option besides trying to bike home and drive in or take transit the whole way. It's also great for just giving yourself a break. It can be a little bit more challenging in winter to be biking. So if you still want to experience the benefits of biking, but you don't want to commit to always having to bike your whole commute, it's great to combine with transit. So you can either bike in the morning and take the train or bus home, or vice versa, or even just bike part of your commute and let the bus or train take you the rest of the way. And really good for any time of year, but also in winter, extending your range. If you combine biking and transit, you can go farther than you may have been able to go just by biking. So think about places that you normally drive and whether combining biking and transit might be able to get you there without driving alone. You can also think about park and rides with biking. So many park and rides have bike parking at them. So you could bike to the park and ride. You don't need to drive to a park and ride and put your bike on the bus or train, or leave it at the station if you're comfortable doing that. So lots of ways to combine biking and transit that can make it easier to get around. And Move Minneapolis has recently put together a winter transportation resources list. You can see that at moveminneapolis.org/winter-resources. Check that out for transit, biking, and walking tips for winter. And as we're talking about biking, we can't not talk about free, secure bicycle storage. So I wanted to highlight another amenity at the ABC ramps. The ABC ramps ramp bike and ride. It's located in Ramp B. On the screen, I have an image of the Ramp B bicycle storage door at Ramp B. And this is a weatherproof option for storing your bike if you don't want to leave it outside exposed to the elements. You have 24/7 access if you park in the bike and ride. There's an image on the screen of a person putting a bike into one of the racks in the bike and ride. The way that you get access to this is by registering a GoTo card or Metro Pass at metrotransit.org/bike-ride. And I have a screenshot on the screen of the bike and ride registration form. So this can be another great way to feel like you have a way to have your bike at work downtown, or if you're going to events and things like that, and you don't have to worry about it getting snowy or icy, and it's a secure area. Last, one of the biggest barriers many people have to trying something other than driving alone is, what if I need to leave in the middle of the day? So I have a text bubble on the screen that says have to leave work now. I'm sure many of us have been there. You get the phone call where your kid is sick, you're not feeling well, or if you are carpooling and your carpool partner has to go because they have an emergency. Lots of different reasons that you might need to leave in the middle of the day. I have on the screen a logo of the Guaranteed Ride Home program, and also text that says, no worries, up to $100 or 4 rides are covered annually. So this means if you do need to leave work and you commute to work sustainably 3 or more times a week, and you commuted to work sustainably that day where you have the emergency, you can be reimbursed for the trip that you took with an Uber, Lyft, or taxi. So you would need to pay for the Uber, Lyft, or taxi ahead of time, at the time that you get the ride, but then you can submit your receipt for reimbursement through this Guaranteed Ride Home program. So it's great to have in your back pocket. This also applies for people who bike and walk to work, and carpoolers and van poolers and transit users. You just have to have done that on the day that you have the emergency. You also need to register in advance of the emergency. So keep that in mind for all your transportation worries of having to leave in the middle of the day. And that is my presentation. I have on the screen an image of me in winter gear with my bike on a light rail platform. And that is because when it first got really cold and it was like -4, I underestimated the wind chill. So I practiced what I preached, and I put my bike on a light rail to make it all the way to downtown. Again, my name is Catherine Windick, and I focus on individual solutions at Move Minneapolis. So I'm available for individual consultations to talk you through your transportation options. You can reach me at catherine@moveminneapolis.org or 612-370-9165. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you very much, Catherine. That was really informative. And thank you, Sue and Michelle, all the information that you presented. And when you kind of look at each individual presentation, they all kind of, when you group it together, it really provides a good comprehensive reason for a hybrid worker who's coming in 2 or 3 times a week into downtown Minneapolis to really look at the many options that they have and the tips that they have that can make their commute that much easier, more sustainable, more economical. It's easy to think, oh, gee, I'm working in the office 3 days a week. I'm just going to get in my car and drive, and I'm going to pay the daily rate and not worry about it. But when you add all the pain points to that, the cost, the adding to the congestion, and so on, it really makes sense to look at the other options that are available. And if you get into carpooling, you have the option to really improve, make friends with a coworker. Same thing with transit. There's just a lot more socializing that goes on when you're thinking about using the other modes. And then there's the health and wellness aspect. Obviously, if you're biking in or using transit, that does benefit. You are getting more steps in. Even if you're taking the bus, then just going into the garage and getting the car keys and driving it. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this, from both economic, from the health and wellness benefits, and from overall happiness. So, and after all, that's part of our work life, is to try to find those moments of happiness. With that, we have a number of questions for the panel, and I'm going to just go through them, tick through them one at a time, and then whoever is the most appropriate for this, go ahead and jump in. Do you vary the Easy Pass rates by degree or congestion?
That is mine, I'm sure. Again, Sue Gergen with Easy Pass Minnesota. So we have a pretty robust algorithm that looks at traffic congestion in the Easy Pass lane further down. So for example, it's always looking down the lane, further down along the route, depending on which direction you're going. And it updates the prices every couple of minutes. But I will tell you, so it's based on congestion further down the Easy Pass lane. And that's what's going to vary your price. The more congestion, the higher the price you're going to pay for those single occupant vehicles that have to have a tag, et cetera. Again, if you're carpooling or riding transit, you might feel that your trip goes a little bit longer because there's more congestion, but you won't have to pay anything. But yes, the prices are all determined by the traffic congestion further down in the lane. And I will say that if you have a valid account and a tag and you're entering that lane and you're going to pay something, when you see that price tag, when you see that price sign and you go in there, that is the price that you will pay for your trip at that point. So even though the congestion may change down the road, as long as you stay in the lane, you'll pay that price for your trip for that segment. Now, if you get out of the lane and then you come back in, then that may change your pricing. But it is based on traffic congestion. And again, it's the traffic congestion further down the lane. The more congestion, the higher the price. In Minnesota, we do have an $8 maximum. This is not the case for other facilities. Some of them will become 12, 13, 14, 15. They can just get as high as it needs to be. Our state statute had said, okay, the minimum fee will be 25 cents and the max will be $8. So the most will ever be is $8.
Thanks, Sue. This one's also teed up for you. Do you have any information about how many people use Easy Pass in the Twin Cities, and maybe what the breakdown is between paying and users that get to use it as.
You're catching me off guard because I do, but I don't have it at my fingertips. We have close to, boy, we're over 70,000 account holders. So that's 70,000 people accounts. And, you know, it really varies how they use the lanes. Like I said, carpools seem to be right now the primary way that people are using the lanes. But I would say at least 13% from our perception tracking, I think it was 13% are using it. They're the fee paying, the account holder, they're paying a fee. So you've got 79% that are in carpools. And then I think it was like 12 or 13% are paying a fee. Transit use right now in our Easy Pass lanes is maybe only a couple of a percent, you know, maybe 1 or 2%. That's down mainly because Easy Pass lanes facilitate the express routes. And while the local transit service is coming back pretty good, our express routes are still lagging behind a little bit from what they were pre-pandemic. So we don't have as much use by our transit users. But again, we're more than 70,000 account holders, and a lot of people using it beyond just the account holders because we have carpoolers and transit riders.
Thank you. Here's another question. When parking at the ABC ramps, understood that it's above the transit center, or it's incorporated, it is part of the mobility hub. Are there any routes that run every 10 minutes or so that could be seen as a shuttle or serve as a shuttle of sorts to get people to the other side of downtown? And I can kind of answer part of this. So you do have the BRT buses that would be the C and the D line. They don't run every 10 minutes, but probably about every 15 minutes during the peak hours. You also have the LRT, the blue line and the green line, and because they both share track very close to ramp B at the Warehouse District Station or a little bit further up at the Target Field Station, they do run very frequently. And I believe because they are staggered, they would be running more closer to a 10-minute schedule, if not even faster than that during rush hour. So those are two really good options for transit to be able to use that ramp and ride card. Then again, there are regular bus routes, and regular bus routes tend not to be that frequent. You know, it is 10 minutes, but the bus rapid transit, I think, is the best bet. I don't know. Catherine, do you want to add anything to that?
I think you pretty much covered it. I did want to just mention too that Metro Transit is working on improving service levels. We saw some improvements in the December quarterly updates. So they're continuously improving how long you have to wait for transit. So that's not specific to what we're talking about here in this location, but overall across their system, they are working on making it faster, more frequent as riders or as demand is there and drivers are available. So watch for updates.
Thank you. Here's another question. Is there an app for real-time carpool matching?
Answer that, John. So Metro Transit offers a service on their website. You can go to metrotransit.org/carpool. And you can register and they can help try to connect you with a carpool partner.
Thank you, Michelle. Another question. Can the Easy Pass be used to pay for parking?
Go ahead, Michelle. I don't think it can be. I think they're two different systems, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it cannot be used to pay for parking in any of the ABC ramps or Infos parking ramps.
That sounds like a really good project that the two of you can collaborate on. Wouldn't that be convenient? But yeah, obviously, yeah, two separate systems, but maybe someday they'll talk. Um, in your work with corporations and businesses in downtown Minneapolis, are they predicting more people coming back to the office? Nice to see that we are beating the nation in the average of offering hybrid work. Anybody care to jump in on that? I can share a little bit of data, and this goes back to one of my slides that was resourced from the Downtown Council, and they do regular surveying of employers in downtown, gauging on the number of employers that are bringing people back to the office. Excuse me. And I mentioned that even ones that offered and still offer hybrid work, some of them have changed their policies to mandate the specific number of days coming in. And I gave the examples of Wells Fargo, US Bank, and Excel Energy now mandating a minimum of 3 times a week that you have to come to the office and sometimes more. So I think that that is going to evolve. Obviously, the service industries that service the workers that would be your, restaurants and retailers would love to have people back in downtown Minneapolis. And, Monday through Friday, you saw the slide with the chart that showed the days of the week when hybrid workers are coming in. They tend to be Tuesday through Thursday. So if you're a restaurant on Friday afternoon, it might be pretty slow. It'll probably pick up with the weekend traffic for the dinner hour if you're still open. But if you're one of the Skyway restaurants, it makes it difficult to kind of plan for your work hours. I don't know if that answered the question, but progress is being made, and I think it's going to be very incremental and down to the individual employer.
I would add to that because at MnDOT we're often asked to look in our crystal ball with regards to traffic congestion and how people are moving or whatever. And as someone who has studied paradigm shifts and paradigm shifts, we're still in the middle of a paradigm shift, and that makes it really hard to know. And paradigm shifts take years. So even though it feels like, okay, the pandemic's done, we should be, back to something different, it's taking time, and we're seeing that. So I think that makes it even more important for, John and the panelists here to realize that we need to provide options. There need to be flexible options for people, because we don't exactly know what next year is going to be like. And there are some businesses that are calling people back for certain days. Others are still leaving it flexible. So we're still in the shift, and it's hard, I know, but I think having options is a good thing.
Well, and I would just add as well, coming back to that flexibility and what I mentioned about trying things out. If your employer doesn't require specific days or times or things like that, then this is really a great time to experiment with those options. In case, or if they do mandate something in the future, you would be more prepared and know, okay, well, I know I can take transit, I can bike, I can do these other things, I can carpool. So using this as an experimental time could be really fruitful.
Another question. I think we got maybe time for one more. Are TNCs used for GRH service? And forgive my ignorance on the acronyms. I'm trying to translate that. But if anybody cares to jump in, TNCs used for GRH service.
Well, I think GRH is guaranteed ride home, but I also do not know what TNC stands for.
Oh, and thank you for the guaranteed ride home. Yes, of course, I've heard that before. I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
TNC is like Uber and Lyft. Somebody put in the chat.
Got it. Yes. Do you want to answer that, Catherine?
Yeah. So that is what Guaranteed Ride Home service is pretty much promoting. If you want to use Uber or Lyft to get you home in that emergency situation, you can do that, and that is where the reimbursement would come in. So you would pay for the ride to your Uber or Lyft, or you can use a traditional taxi if you're able to get one of those. But you can pay for that with your qualifying emergency, get the receipt, make sure that the amount that you paid is clear and the date is clear on that, and then you submit that to Metro Transit. They process it for reimbursement. And again, that's 4 times a year or $100 a year, whichever comes first.
Thank you, Catherine. And we are, excuse me, we are at time. There was a couple more questions about citing the research. I will remind everybody that there will be a follow-up email going out to all webinar attendees. And in that, there will be sources cited from many of the facts and statistics that we've cited today and the various studies. So that link, those will be linked and you'll be able to look up the various articles. And there's been a lot of data that had just come out this fall. That's why I think the timing of this webinar was really good, because we were able to really be on top of the data. With that, thank you so much, Sue, Michelle, and Catherine, for participating. Thank you all for attending our webinar, and stay tuned. Move Minneapolis will be presenting more in a short while. Thanks.